I'm just really shocked that this is going so well. My hand is starting to feel a bit sore, but I've written so much this week. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we are back with another challenge. It's been a little while since I've done a writing challenge here on the channel and I've missed doing them. This week I'm going to be writing only by hand. I am not by disposition a strong handwriter. My handwriting is very messy, very inconsistent. My spelling is atrocious. Like I have never been one to write long form stories by hand. I love typing. I'm a very fast typer. I get irritated because it takes longer to handwrite than it does to type. And so basically for all of these reasons, I've never tried writing long form stories by hand. However, I recently submitted the structural edits for my debut novel. If you're new here, hello. My name is Christy. My debut novel is coming out next year. It's called Theodora's Tea Shop. It's an atmospheric adult fantasy novel about a young woman who goes off to this really cool 1920s inspired city where there's demons and spirits and she wants to learn magic from the enigmatic witch Theodora. It comes out next year. I'm super duper excited, and last week I submitted my structural edit for the novel. I'm working with my Australian editor and my UK editor. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work, but my structural edit is all done for Theodora's Tea Shop, and now I'm coming to you this week super duper excited to slowly come back to my next novel, which is called Project Spiegel Tent, which is a gothic arty novel about a young woman who works at a cursed arts festival where there's a whole bunch of clandestine stuff going on. So I'm on draft 2 of Project Spiegel Tent currently. I think I'm about 70% of the way through, so I'm just slowly creeping back into writing. And so this week I'm going to be doing basically 1 hour a day on Project Spiegel Tent, writing by hand, going really slowly, and I'm excited to see what this does for my writing. Let's see what that does for the strength of my hand. Let's jump into it. Hello, welcome to my study in my 1-bedroom apartment, which is sending me today. It's a tiny space and I'm used to it. I'm used to existing in a tiny space. We've been here for such a long time. It's fine, but I don't know if you can squint and see there's a building being constructed. I feel like there must be a better way to build a building than to hammer it in centimeter by centimeter, but that's fine. Number one goal right now is to find a notebook that I can use for this challenge. Now, I could go out and buy a notebook, and you guys know that I love an excuse to go and buy a notebook, but I feel like I must have one at least. I think there's at least a couple of little exercise books. Let's rearrange some stuff and I can look in this drawer. Phineas lost a leaf? He has seen better days. We need to figure out what's going on with Phineas the fiddle-leaf fig. But we're now down here and I can start searching at this extreme low angle, and we can start searching. This is like my camera equipment. It's very messy, don't look in there. We have random papers where I keep my taxes. A model plane I'm planning on building. Passport photos. Japanese learning stuff. That's got Japanese in it, but it's mostly unused, this one, so that's an option. Aha! These are the ones I was looking for. Okay. This might actually be a good option. This is from me studying kanji in 2020. I like that the lines are quite thin. I don't like notebooks that have like really strong, heavy lines because I feel like it's too visually overwhelming. If this is a grid book, that's better for kanji. I think I'm just going to rip out the first few pages of this notebook and use this one today. It's A4, it's a good size. And then for pens, now normally if I was writing in my journal, if it's a journal with thick paper, I like to write with a fountain pen. Fountain pens are not going to work in a thin notebook. We're going to use something a little bit more ergonomic. This guy, this is a 0.5. I think my other favorite pen is in my backpack, which I will find somewhere. I also really love this pen, which I got at Daikanyama Tea Site. This is also a 0.5. I am going to spend a little bit of time scrolling through my manuscript, just refamiliarizing myself, especially with the last chapter I worked on, and then I'm going to settle down and write for about an hour. Let's see how we go. There is this idea that a lot of people believe that your second book is always your most difficult book to write. Now, this book is actually I mean, technically it's my 4th book because I wrote 1 novel that failed. My 2nd book I self-published. My 3rd book, which is my 2nd novel, is Theodora's Tea Shop, and my 4th book / 3rd novel is this one. Kind of feels like my 2nd novel, and it very much feels like the novel that has all of the gritty, emotional feelings cascading over from my 1st book. All of the rejections from the literary agents and the publishers and all of this stuff. Now, why I'm bringing this up again, and I've mentioned it in a couple of videos, is that doing these kinds of small challenges and kind of breaking up my ordinary routine is really, really helpful for me as a writer. I thrive on novelty and change and difference. And so I came to the blank page today a little bit nervous, a little bit intimidated, because I was worried that after 4 weeks away from the novel, maybe I wouldn't be on a roll with it anymore. But I scrolled back through the manuscript, I reread a couple of chapters, and then I sat down for my 1 hour of handwriting, and it went surprisingly well. Like, I'm not gonna lie, just straight away, it felt really nice to get out a pen and paper and just start jotting things down and not really critically looking at how messy my handwriting was or whether or not there were mistakes there. I just kind of let myself write. I tried to slow myself down, but I wasn't too picky over whether or not my handwriting was a little bit messy, because it's gonna be a little bit messy. Today is the very next day, and I am going to be continuing this challenge. Yesterday I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4.5 pages. Now these are very big A4 pages. Maybe if I wanted this challenge to look a little bit more impressive, I should have gone with a smaller book, but this is the book that we had. I didn't feel like my wrist was getting that sore. I should probably give you guys the context that I have a pre-existing, very mild wrist injury from carrying my dog, and I think also doing Pilates, not at the same time, so I just need to be a little bit mindful of that when I'm doing this writing. But anyway, I wrote 4.5 pages here, and I think the main thing I was getting stuck on yesterday as I was writing is this kind of idea that if it's not typed on the computer, it's not actual writing. And I kept asking myself, is this a waste of time because the words aren't actually going on the document? But given that I have the tendency to write and then throw away drafts so often, I genuinely have no business telling myself that this is a waste of time. I spent yesterday kind of planning chapter 8. I thought I was a little bit further along in the story than that. I thought I was on chapter 9 or 10, but I'm on chapter 8. And so I basically plotted and wrote out bits of dialogue and wrote out bits of prose. And chapter 8 is kind of a complex chapter. So there are a few chapters in this book. There's maybe 3 or 4 of these 13 chapters where they're kind of more complex because I know where I want the character to be by the end, but it's kind of, these specific chapters are very creative and very complex. And I just need to kind of work out exactly how I fit in all of the elements that I want without having a really clear game plan. And so the work that I'm doing today and yesterday, I think, is just going to be that kind of game plan work of deciding what the character's going to do, how this ties back to the themes of the story, how this ties back to her central character arc, cause and effect of what she's doing, because I want her to be in place A and place B and place C, but all of this needs to have a logical flow, and she needs to get there by making her own choices and own decisions, and everything has to have weight to it. And so it's this fun problem-solving thing when you conceptually know where you want your character to be, but not what intrinsic motivators or character arc things are getting them there. So basically that's what I'm problem solving. I'm going to sit down and do another hour of writing, and hopefully I can start the actual prose of chapter 8, but I'm not putting any pressure on myself. As I said, it was a really, really big few weeks there for Project Teacup, getting the structural edits done. I almost didn't stop working for like 3 weeks. So this week we are taking it slowly. Today is Wednesday. I'm currently on the 3rd day of this challenge, and so far I have written 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've written 12 pages, and I think about the first 4 pages of chapter planning, and essentially I have just been working away, and I'm really pleasantly surprised at how enjoyable I found this. Like, I've really tried to slow myself down, and to be honest, this looks like scroll, but it is... What is Mabel doing? Little Miss Mabel has had a haircut, if you guys would like to see. She looks like a noodle. So she is no longer a chicken nugget, and she is in a very playful mood. Little Miss, please be chill. Lay down. Yes, good girl. I've absolutely forgotten what I was saying, but basically we've had a really good writing day. I think I roughly made it through a third of that chapter, so I'm actually really pleased. Like, I think these prose are genuinely usable. I was super worried when I first started doing this challenge that I wouldn't be able to use any of this, that I wouldn't be able to concentrate properly. It's just very, very abnormal to me to actually write full chapters of my stories into notebooks, but I'm enjoying writing a little bit slower, and I feel like I'm writing efficiently. So I've only really put, what, 2 and a bit hours into writing this chapter, but this is a really hard chapter, and I've tried to write it before and I've had a lot of trouble, and I feel fairly confident that I've written a decent third of the chapter. So I think I've written at least 1,500 words. I'm actually not sure. I'd like to go back and kind of count the words that I've written at the end of this week and see what I've done. But yes, the challenge is going really, really well. I'm really mindful of my posture, both of like how I'm sitting and my wrist, to kind of make sure that I'm actually not going to injure. This is such a silly, tiny little injury to have, but it's just like if I twist it just a set, like I know it's gonna heal, but like sometimes when I'm holding Mabel, if it's like my wrist is, I'm just holding her badly basically. Writing really well and really slowly, and honestly I'm so relieved because I was worried that coming back to this project after 3 weeks or about a month away from it, I was really worried that I was going to struggle to get locked back into the story. But I think because I'm on draft 2, I'm so close to the end, it's quite easy for me to pick up this story, even though I'm currently working on one of the chapters that I find quite intimidating. So yeah, Mabel is now nibbling on my eye mask. So I'm gonna stop her from doing that, and I'll come back to you tomorrow. Hi, beautiful girl. It is Friday today, and I am pleasantly surprised at how well this challenge has gone. Like, I thought it would be like fun to film. I love filming snippets of me writing and speeding it up and doing the time lapses. I think it's like visually very pretty. But as I said, my spelling is bad, my handwriting is bad, I get impatient, but I've been writing really, really well and really efficiently, and I'm not sure if it's just that I've been lucky to hop back into a project that was already on a roll when I left it, so it's a bit easier. But I've written so much this week. I've basically written almost the entirety of chapter 8, which as I said is a really hard chapter. I was aiming for it to be about 5,000 words-ish. I have no idea how many words I've done, but I can kind of see over Saturday and Sunday me actually moving on to start planning the next chapter. I only have 13 chapters in this book, so actually Spiegel Tent is going really well, which feels kind of shocking because if you've watched the Project Spiegel Tent vlogs, you'll know that this is a story that I've had to slowly unearth. That parts of the story have been like pulling teeth, and I'm, you know, exploring a bunch of things around artistic snobbery, and I think Mabel has just woken up from her nap. Once again distracted by little Miss Mabel. What was I saying? What was I saying to them? You have just woken up, so you're very cuddly. I still can't get over her hair. She looks so much older now that she's had a haircut, but she's beautiful. Oh, it's a big yawn. I think that I'm gonna be able to start chapter 9, at least planning for chapter 9. I'm just really shocked that this is going so well. It's actually wild to me because I've been so hesitant to push myself to handwrite, and I love making these videos because I genuinely learn a lot about myself and a lot about my writing process through the act of making these videos. So it's a really, really lovely thing I get to do. And I also think that this is a really good practice to have if you're early on in a story. And so I have a novel that I don't even know if it's a novel, it might just be a really big short story that I want to work on after Project Spiegel Tent, which is a little bit inspired by Mabel. This is the first time I have had a puppy, so this is a big deal for me. I love her so much. I'm considering maybe doing this and having just like an hour a day notebook time for working on that story, maybe while I'm finishing Spiegel Tent. Like honestly, it's felt like I have done no work. It's felt like I've put almost no effort into Spiegel Tent this week because it's literally just an hour of very gentle, slow writing, and I've basically written this whole chapter this week, but it feels like I've put no time into it. It's just been great, and I'm honestly shocked, and I'm a little bit irritated at myself that I have never tried this before. I have written 16 pages, so 4 of those roughly are chapter planning, so 12 pages of prose. Hello and happy Sunday. I am up to the 24th page of this notebook. My hand is starting to feel a bit sore, my arm is starting to feel a little bit sore, and it's not because of the 1 hour of writing necessarily. It's because I'm doing that writing a little bit impatiently, but I'm trying to slow myself down. I want my handwriting to be legible because I realized a little while ago that this is so silly. Like, I did not know that this was possible. I'm gonna sound like so out of touch with technology, but I was Googling the other week, is there a way to take a picture of handwriting and have it easily transcribed into like digital text? I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know this was this easy. And the internet told me, yeah, you just open your phone and take a picture and there's a thing that pops up and you press transcribe to text and it's super duper easy. And I was shocked by this and I went and asked my partner, did you know about this? Did you know this was a thing? And he was like, yeah. So this technology has been around for a while apparently, and I just didn't notice, even though when I take pictures of text I see the little text thing pop up on my phone. But regardless, I'm hoping that by the end of this I can start transcribing this and actually popping it into a document. But yeah, I've written 24 pages so far. I've found that I've kind of averaged 4 pages a day, which I think is really good. Like, from memory, Stephen King tries to write about 6 pages, like A4 pages a day. And just to be like really like realistic and caveat this, again, I wouldn't be writing this many pages in an hour if I weren't super duper locked onto this project. Like, the reason why I can write this quickly is because I've already done a year to a year and a half's worth of legwork here on Project Spiegel Tent. I've been on this project for a while and I'm just a person who, at the beginning of a project, I work really, really slowly. It feels really, really painful. And as the project goes along, I work faster and faster and faster until I get to like the no life mode of a story, which is where I was for the last 3 weeks with Theodora's tea shop, because I was doing structural edits. And for that one, that's very much a dig as deep as you can and try and make the very, very best book that you can. I exhausted myself the past 3 weeks because I just wanted to do as much as possible. But anyway, we're back onto Spiegel Tent and I'm so happy that I'm genuinely working really, really well. I'm really pleased with it. And yeah, we've written 24 pages so far. I finished chapter 8, which is wild. I'm currently working on planning for chapter 9, which is very, very exciting. Chapter 9 is not as big as chapter 8. So let's finish this challenge. Maybe I'll try and push out to 30 pages. Maybe I'll go a little bit over the hour if I can. We'll see how we go. This challenge is 100% complete, and I think this might have been my easiest writing challenge and also maybe my most successful one. I think just from the perspective of I didn't feel like I had to put a lot of effort into writing this week, and yet I wrote an entire chapter, again for Project Spiegel Tent, because it's been such a hard project for months on end. I really, really struggled, and the honest answer with that is probably that I was just really emotionally going through it with Theodora's tea shop. I was on submission, blah, 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 blah. All of that emotional messiness kind of bled through onto Spiegel Tent. But anyway, I'm writing really well. I'm getting through the story. It's probably not going to be that much time until I actually submit Spiegel Tent to my literary agent. And essentially, I wanted to come in here at the end of this video and let you know how I went on this challenge. I think it was really, really successful. I'm going to sit down tomorrow on Monday and try and transcribe some of this and work out how many words I wrote. But basically, I wrote 30 pages, which must be around 4,000, 5,000 words, something. Regardless, the point is I made genuine progress on the story and it was really easy and fun and quite therapeutic. And the biggest challenge I had while writing this story is that I kept trying to speed up and write faster. I was trying to write by hand at the same speed that I normally type, which just isn't possible because it's not as ergonomic to write by hand as it is to type for me. I much prefer typing. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed doing this, and I've really missed doing writing challenges. Like, I used to do writing routines and writing challenges all the time, but I think my head was just sort of taken up entirely by book stuff. And so I'm looking forward to doing some more writing challenges going forward. I'm looking forward to finishing Spiegel Tent really soon. And also my debut novel, Theodora's Tea Shop, is going to be out next year in July. If you want to pre-order it, you can click the link in the description down below. We've now updated the link, so if you're in the US, it's going to take you to Blackwell's, I believe, where you can pre-order the book. I know people from the US were having a little bit of trouble because the link was going to Amazon, but now it's going to Blackwell's where you can pre-order the book if you want. Also, if you wanted to add the book on Goodreads or Storygraph, that would mean the world to me. The link to that is in the description down below. And finally, before we leave, I wanted to say thank you to everyone over on Patreon, because without Patreon, I wouldn't be able to make these videos. Over on Patreon, we have a whole bunch of lovely bonus content, updates, bespoke videos, we have a book club, we have a private Discord server, we have so many lovely things over on Patreon. So if you want to check that out, there's a link in the description down below. Take care everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.